This is the story of a Norwegian valley, one of those little lifelines shearing through a rugged interior, uniting what the mountains seek to thread. Since man first ventured into these parts, the valley has been his foothold in a struggle against stone, cold, and distance. But his arrival was a late one. Here the ice had reigned supreme, the last of it melting only 10,000 years ago, at a time when the cave paintings in southern France were probably already 5,000 years old. So these are comparatively new lands. Today's glaciers are not remains of the Ice Age, but by studying them one can learn how Norway's mountains were rounded off and its valleys excavated. Here we see how the ice ploughed into the mountainsides. Working into fissures, it cracked off huge stone blocks, which the glacier carried along. These jagged blocks, frozen fast to the glacier's underside, formed cutting tools, which ground out the familiar U-shaped valleys. In many places, the marks of these gigantic tools are clearly visible, pointing the direction in which the ice once moved. Evidence of the grinding, chiseling ice mass that shaped the landscape is fresh, as though this great drama were enacted only yesterday. In its wake, the melting ice left its worn-out tools, colossal building blocks and marbles, playthings of the old Norse gods. Cast aside were huge knolls of rubble, stone, sand, gravel, known as moraines. But before these newly dug valleys could meet even the simple needs of primeval man, they had to be smoothed down, finished to provide the soil necessary for growth. Water continued what the ice had begun. Streams and rivers coursing down the valley undermined the banks. Where these were loose, the walls toppled in, and the material was carried away, leaving a V-shaped valley. Pebbles, sand, and silt were deposited far downstream. In a dry riverbed like this one, running water has written its diary. The end product of this refining process was soil, the basis of the plant and animal life on which man was to live. The stage was set, and the actors could finally appear. Forests emerged to cover a fourth of the country below the timberline. Above it, vegetation, though sparse, developed a surprising variety and beauty. Animal life, primarily the reindeer, meant food for the valley's first residents. A herd of muskox on the Dobra Plateau recalls some of the prehistoric game those early hunters would have encountered. And some of them have left their autographs here. We can be almost certain that they once lived along the coast, but soon they began to push inland along the ice-worn trails which nature had spent these millions of years in preparing. At last the valley had come into its own. The hunter gave way to the farmer, the spear to the plough. The search was now for soil, not only for gain. And the valley continued to shape the lives of its people. Deep in Norway's rugged interior, these farms were not isolated. They bordered a natural cultural highway where traffic was brisk, giving and receiving. Crafts and skills blossomed, and these were diffused throughout the whole country's cultural life. The valley dwellers soon learned to value the high plateau above the timberline. At midsummer, sheep and cattle were driven up to these rich, natural pastures, remaining till autumn. Their milk was turned into cheese and butter for easier transport. More recently, mountain and valley have joined to unlock a new treasure: light, heat, power in the form of falling water, electricity. Few lands can develop their power resources more cheaply. Though output per head is already the highest in the world, only a fraction has yet been utilized. Plunging to the valley floor, the streams join into rivers, carrying millions of logs to coastal mills and wood processing plants each spring. Again, the valley creates, serves, unites. Typical of the Norwegian valley are its trade centres. The town of Lillehammer, for example, is a natural focal point for the administrative, commercial and cultural activity for the whole Gudbrandsdal, Norway's largest valley. Today, the valley provides a natural route for railways and roads. Once followed by the early hunter, these pathways now convey modern explorers, holiday travellers from every corner of the globe, seeking peace, space and beauty. The soil is rich and crops are large. Of all the seasons, autumn is probably the most picturesque and the most colourful. But high above the valley floor, the pattern of millenniums repeats itself, undisturbed by time. Mountain ranges stretch into the distance, but not grim and menacing. In inland Norway, the mountains have been mastered. Valley lifelines have knit the pieces into a whole. They have created life, shaped it, and shared it.